everybody, welcome back to my channel and to another video. Hope you are all doing really well. Father's Day is coming up relatively soon, so I wanted to start making some projects based around Father's Day. So I've started off with a couple of pouches that I've made. So there's like a pencil case sized one. This one just says Dad's Stuff on it. These are cotton pouches, so they're really good to put all your bits and bobs in if you're a dad. And then this is a bigger one, which I thought would make a nice wash bag, or maybe even for bits and pieces of tools in the garage or whatever. But this is the other one, and this is the one that we're going to be making in today's video. So without any further ado, let's jump on into the video and get started. Let's quickly run through all of the materials that I'm going to be using in this project then, and everything that I've got on the table here will be linked down below in the description, so you can check out all the different items that I'm using. So I first of all just have some basic tools. So I have my True Control weeding set, I've got a True Control knife, a pair of scissors, then I have my rotary blade, and this is really for cutting the HTV, it just makes it a lot easier. Then I've got my fine point blade for my Cricut, a scraper just in case I need one. I might not need one for this project, but it's always good to have one on hand. Then I have my HTV itself. This is a big roll of glitter HTV from MDP Supplies. I will link it down below for you, and I will also link another one that I like from GM Crafts, which you could also pick up. This one is super duper sparkly, and it really does adhere well when you are making a project like this. I've got my HTV Ront Teflon sheet for my heat press. Then I've got my pouches. So I've got two different sizes. They're cotton pouches with zips on them. They're from MDP Supplies, but if you don't want to use these ones, I'll try and find a very similar one for you on Amazon that you'll be able to use. And again, I've got two sizes, the bigger one and the pencil case sized one there. Then I've got this Crafter's Dream quilting square, and this is just for cutting out my HTV, just to make it a little bit easier for measuring and stuff. You can always use a ruler if you don't have one of these. And then I've just got a light grip Cricut cutting mat here as well, and that's obviously to go into my machine. So these are the four designs that I've put together then. Two of them I have made myself, which is the Daddy and the Dad Stuff, and then this one here with the pint glass on it and the number one Dad are both Cricut Access images, so you'll be able to use these if you want to. And this project is going to be saved on my profile, so you'll be able to access it by going through to my profile page. If you don't know how to find a profile in Cricut Design Space, I'll put a really short video in the description down below for you that you can check out that quickly shows you how to do that. Then you can use any of the shared projects that I give out on my videos. So what I'm going to do first of all is just hide all of the other ones, because the one I'm going to use is going to be this one. Before we get started then cutting out the design, what we're going to do first of all is measure our pouch and make sure that we know what the size of the design needs to be. So I'm just going to use my quilting square for this, and I think what I'm going to do is do it to about 20 centimeters in width, and then I'll place it around there, so it's going to be from there to there. Next thing to do then is just to come back onto Design Space. I'm going to grab ourselves a little shape, and I'm going to go for the star, and this is going to be used for our test cut, just to make sure that our design is going to cut properly. And it's really important to do a test cut if you're using a new material or something that you maybe haven't used for a long time. Maybe you've done a lot of Design Space updates, and sometimes that can affect how different settings cut, so it's important to have a little test cut ready for you. So all I'm going to do is just change the colour of that to be red, and then this is going to go in the top left hand corner of one of our mats, and then we'll be ready to cut that. But what I have done is just made sure that this little star will fit here, because when I put my vinyl down, I'm going to do it so that it's incorporated in the design, and then it's not going to even waste a tiny bit of vinyl. The reason that we do a test cut, as I've said, is just to make sure that our test cut settings are correct, but also because we want to make sure we're not wasting any HTV. So if I were to just go into this project totally gung-ho, cut this out, try to weed it, find out my setting hasn't worked, I'm going to be a bit annoyed that I've wasted a piece of vinyl that's a pretty decent size when I could have salvaged it by just taking a little bit longer and doing a test cut with my little star. The next thing that I do also before I go through to make my project is I mirror on the screen here, and the way that I do that is just by selecting that layer. As you can see, it's green on the right hand side, and what I do is come up here to where it says flip. Click on that, you get two options, which is flip horizontal and flip vertical. I'm going to select horizontal. And there it is backwards now. So in effect, it is mirrored. Now this takes away any danger that you may forget to mirror it, again, wasting vinyl when you cut it. So this is what I like to do. It's just my preferred method. If you still wish to go through to the make it section and mirror it on your mat there, then that's absolutely fine as well. This is just my own personal preference. So what I'm going to do now is go through to make, and we're going to have two mats come up. So we want to be sure that we have started off cutting the second mat, which is the red one. We are now going to go through to continue, and it's going to find my machine. It's been a bit slow finding my machine over the last couple of days, but hopefully it won't take too long. There it is. Okay, so now you can see I've got all of my bookmarked materials on here that I use regularly. Now glitter iron-on is on there. It's one that I use all the time because I'm quite a big fan of a bit of glitter iron-on. So that one is there for me. If you haven't got that one, what you could do is go over to Popular and see if it's on there. It isn't today. This is what a lot of people have been cutting. That's interesting to see sometimes as well. So it's not on there, so we're going to have to find it. So let's go through here via Browse All Materials. And now we have all of the different materials that my machine can cut. So there's two ways to do it. You can either come up here where it says all categories, click on that, and then you can come down to the iron-on section. And then you can see you've got all the different iron-ons that the machine will cut. And there is the glitter iron-on, which has got the bookmark against it. I can click on that here. It tells me it's selected because it's got the little tick there, and then I can click on done. So we're ready now. The next thing that we're going to notice is there's this exclamation mark has appeared, and this is to remind us about the mirroring, but because obviously we've done it already, we don't need to worry about that. But it does tell you to make sure that mirror is turned on and that the iron-on material is face shiny side down. So I'm going to show you now what this is all about. We're going to go back to the desk and set up the mat with the HTV. Here's my big roll of HTV then. So I'm just going to undo this masking tape that it has come with. I'm going to keep this so that I can do it back up later. So I'm just going to stick it on my desk just there. And then you can see when we're looking at this HTV, it's super duper shiny on this side. And this is the side that is going to face us once we iron it onto our pouch. And then the other side is still quite shiny, but it's not got that really sparkly finish to it, and this is because this is the adhesive side of the HTV, and this very shiny side is what is known as the carrier sheet. And if I just bend this corner back ever so slightly, you can see that that plastic carrier sheet is on there. So the first thing that we want to do is measure our piece of HTV so that we've got a piece that's adequately sized for our project. So what I'm going to do, I think, is turn it this way around and do it here. So my size of my project is 20, what did I say? I've forgotten. Let me have a quick look. It is 20, it's about 22 centimetres. So I'm going to make it a touch bigger. I'm going to go for 23. So I'm just lining up my quilting square there, and downwards this way it needs to go to about 14. Let's bring in my rotary cutter, and I'm just going to cut that there. This needs quite a lot of pressure because it's quite thick HTV. I'm just going to move my ruler up a touch, and then I'm just going to go across the bottom here. That should have done that. Might have a little catch in the corner. There we go, we can just pull that off. There it is. Let's roll this back up and put that masking tape back on. Alright then. So we are starting off with this second mat, which is the one with our star on it. It's up in the left hand corner, and as you can see, if I flick back through to the other one, we are going to have that star on our design once we've done it. We won't need to move that around or do anything differently. So we've chosen our material. The next thing it's telling us to do is load our tools and materials. We've got the fine point blade. We're going to insert our mat and just press go. So that is what I'm going to do next. That's the little test cut finished then. Don't really need to move away from the Cricut. All I'm going to do is get my True Control weeding tool. I'm just going to check that that has cut. And as you can see, that little star is absolutely perfect there. So I can now just pop my mat back into the machine. And I'm ready to cut the second mat that's got the main design on it. So I'm just going to hit go and let it do its thing. Again, once the design's finished cutting, let's just pull up a little piece and just double check that it's cut before we eject the mat, and everything's cut lovely by the looks of things. So now we can eject the mat and get on with the weeding. Today I'm going to weed my design on the mat, so I'm just going to leave it on here and just start taking everything out. If you can't see it very well, a top tip is to pop some corn flour or some sort of very fine flour onto your design, and it will stick into the grooves where your machine has cut, and you'll be able to see which bits you need to weed a little bit easier. I'm not going to do that today because I think this will be relatively simple, but I'm going to probably speed up this process because it does take quite a while to weed. But let's get on with it. Alright then, I think that is done. So I'm just going to flip it over and just take a quick look over it and see any bits that I've missed. And can you see that A there? I have missed the middle of that. So let me just grab that. That's why it's important to just double check that you haven't missed any bits, because when you've got it stuck down onto your pouch, if there's any bits that you have missed, you won't be able very easily to take them off. So just double check everything. I'm quite happy with that. There's a couple of little bits that I have left in. On this spanner here, there's supposed to be a little cutout, but I've decided to leave it in because it was a little bit too small to take out very easily, and I think it might still be attached to the other part of the spanner. So I've decided to leave that there. Let's move this mat out of the way. Now what we want to do is get our heat press in here, and you could use a household iron for this as well. You don't have to use an actual press. I'm just going to put that to one side and I'm going to grab my heat press now. I did say I was going to use my mini press, but I've decided to use my bigger one just purely because I'm using a bigger pouch, so I think it'll be easier. I'm going to turn it on, and I need to set my settings to 160 degrees Celsius for 15 seconds. So I'm just going to press my buttons and get that set. So 15 seconds. And I'm just going to let that heat up. So it's already up to 15 degrees. The little Cricut symbol is currently orange, so that means it's heating up. Once it's done, it'll turn green and the machine will beep at us. So what I can do now, whilst we're just waiting for that to heat up, is just move this to one side and we can get our pouch ready. So what I'm going to do is just get my pouch here. I've got my pressing pillow. Shelby's been using it. Let's pop that onto there. And what we're going to want to do is just fold that in half so we can see that center point is gonna be there. So that is the center of our pouch. Then what I'm going to do is just refer back to my design in Design Space. So you can see there's a little crosshair in the middle which tells us where the centre of our design is, so we know where we need to place it. So the centre of the pouch is here where we've folded it, and then the centre of the design is the triangle of the A. So we can put that on there, and we can see that that's going to fit really nicely. The Easy Press is ready to go, so the first thing we want to do is just give this a little press just on here. And all we're doing is just heating up our pouch. We haven't pressed the go button or anything because there's no need to. And it's just warming up that pouch so that we know that there is no moisture or anything that's going to stop our design from sticking. Once that's warmed up, I'm just going to grab a lint roller. I'm just going to go over the pouch just to be sure that there's nothing on there that's going to stop the HTV from sticking. Now we can bring our design back and pop it onto there. I am going to use a ruler just to measure to be certain of my placement there, so I might just move it over a touch. Just going to move it that way ever so slightly. And I just want to now make sure that it's nice and straight on the bottom. It's looking pretty good. 3.5 all the way across. That is looking good. Just lift it up that way ever so slightly. That is perfectly placed. Next we need to grab our heat press Teflon sheet. So I'm just going to grab one of these. This is a pack of 3. And I always use one of these. Let's pop that there. We are going to pop that onto our pressing pillow, and we're going to start off on this side. Press the go button and put as much pressure down on there as you can. Alright, and then I'm going to move it over slightly because I have obviously this side to do. Let's do it again. This vinyl is a hot peel, so that means we need to peel back the carrier sheet while it's still hot. Now the carrier sheet can get very hot, so you might want to use a pair of tweezers if you are worried about burning yourself, but just be very careful. You just want to lift up that carrier sheet slowly and just check that it's stuck. And you can see it has stuck really nicely. Let's just peel it all back. And now what I'm going to do is just turn it over. And I'm going to grab my Teflon sheet again. And I'm going to just give it a good press on the back side as well. Ordinarily, if you're using HTV on a fabric such as this cotton, I would suggest that you look for the grain of the material through the HTV, but obviously with this type of material you can't actually see it, so you are more reliant on the fact that you've pressed it really well and you've put a lot of good pressure onto it. But that is our finished piece. It looks amazing, and I'm sure that my dad is going to really like this to put all his bits and bobs in. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to subscribe, drop me any questions or comments that you've got down below, and I will come back to you as soon as I can. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon for another one. Bye!